Hello, hello, everybody. This is DJ Doc. Welcome to Straight Talk. I know that I've been all over the place, and I know you guys miss me because I miss you. All right. Have been doing quite a bit of things. Myself and Lady Rock, aka Lori Jefferson, we've been working on some things and been all over the place. So we got some new things coming, and we'll let you know about that in a little while. But today, I am honored to have a guest on, and this gentleman, we met a few months ago, and we were doing a premiere for a movie he did. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on him. Our guest is Mr. Leroy J. Barrett III. He is founder of Roses Now, and we're going to let you know what Roses Now is in a little bit. But Leroy J. Barrett III is son to Leroy Barrett, and he was born in 1970 at Hutsville Hospital in Detroit, Michigan. Did y'all hear that? Detroit, Michigan. All right. His gifts and talents and love for entertaining well equipped him to thrive in what he often referred to as Showtime at the Apollo. In the 70s and 80s, Detroit was a booming yet harshly judgmental metropolis for entertainment. The city was bustling with talented people, so there was a great degree of expectation for those who donned the stage. Motown's influence had set the bar for local talent high, and the populace kept the pressure on. Well, young Leroy had a sense of what and said pressure and fully embraced his challenge. He began singing and dancing in public by the time he was 6 years old and only left the Detroit stage when he departed for college at 18. Now, Leroy has had some wonderful, wonderful journeys along the way. He is an author. He is a multiple award-winning screenplay writer. He is a stellar intellectual property creator and a buckling entrepreneur. He's an incredible, proud father to 5 miraculous children, and I met them. I love them. And he resides in the jewel of America, which I agree with, which is known as San Diego, California. Everybody, I'd like you to help welcome Mr. Leroy J. Barrett III to the show.
Hey, what's going on, Doc?
All right, all right. How you doing, man?
I'm marvelous, sir. Marvelous. Thank you for having me.
First of all, I want to say that I was totally moved by the movie premiere. We're going to get to that. We're going to talk about that.
Okay, and
And
thank you.
it's a topic that is well needed. And unfortunately, since the release, we've seen that there's been quite a few incidents regarding what the movie was about. And we're going to talk about that. But I want
Okay.
you to get us a little bit more. I gave them a nice little bit about who you are and so forth, but let us know a little bit more about what it was like growing up in Detroit and how the entertainment business affected you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the introduction too. I appreciate it. It's really cool. Uh, yeah, Detroit was amazing. It took me leaving, of course, and it took a while after leaving, not just college, but going around the country quite a bit to find out that Detroit's a unicorn on many levels, particularly when I grew up there in 1986, according to USA Today, Detroit was an 86% black city, which
Hmm.
made it #1 in the country and also made it weird in America, right? That's just not a thing that happens, especially for how it was such a thriving community. You know, the auto industry kept Detroit thriving. So it was
Right.
really, really happening. Motown had left in those early 80s, but it still had the impression on the entire community. So, you know, I started singing and dancing. I was 5 and 6 years old, and I was doing it publicly. And fortunately, I could sing because Detroit would let you know they don't like you. They're sending you packing. That's why I call it the Showtime at the Apollo, the city, because the whole
Right.
city's like everywhere you go. They will give you the boot if they don't like you. So you
Hmm.
learn to have greater expectations of yourself. There's a greater demand on you to perform. You can't just go out and rock side to side. No, you're gonna put on a spectacle, or you're gonna get booed off the stage. Fortunately, that wasn't my world. I had great mentors the entire time I was developing and growing up, my father being at the apex of all of them, of course. Um, but I wound up moving from singing in Glee Club, and I started playing the drums in middle school. And in 1984, I started rapping. And
Okay.
Right before that, though, right before that, breakdancing had a craze. And in Detroit, unique to Detroit, I believe, that I know of. I've asked around, and I've been to 42 of the contiguous U.S. states. I've asked around, and Detroiters walked around with cardboard all the time. It's not the only place that did it, but we walked around with cardboard and
Right.
jukebox, and we would just challenge dudes because they had cardboard, right? That's how that worked. When the rap craze came out, we did the same thing. If you heard a guy that could beatbox or a girl that could beatbox, and they were walking with somebody, you assume that somebody was a rapper, and battling
Okay.
happened. And that's how it worked with me. It was on buses and bathrooms at the mall and school, everywhere that people walked, there was some battling happened. Public buses, it didn't matter. Um,
Right.
and that mano a mano type demand was very, very representative of the Detroiter attitude, right? It's me versus you. I can do better than you. My excellence is greater than yours. Type is a very competitive atmosphere, and it taught me to be at my sharpest, to have a great demand on my own expectations of what I
Right.
could do, and to that my greatest competition would always be me. Do better than the last thing I did is always the thing I strive to do.
And I'm glad you said that because a lot of people don't understand that the only competition you should have is yourself.
That's right. That's right. Beat your bar yesterday. Be a better you today than you were yesterday. If you can
There it
help it
is.
do this hour than you were 3 hours ago, right? Strive.
Right, right. Now, I know when did you start to get the bug about trying to do writing and screenplays? You know, when did that start for you?
All right. So that's a whole bunch of different information for me. I've run the gamut of writing actually. So in elementary school, I wrote poetry, and I won this award for the entire Region 3 is what our areas were separated as regions. And for Region 3, I won this award. I think I was in the fourth grade for a poem about science, which is funny. Uh, Youth. It was a beautiful thing to write a poem about science.
Right.
Um, but that translated um, into writing music when I changed to playing the drums. I was singing early, and we read music, but I wasn't reading it as effectively or as intently because you could hear melodies, harmonies, whatnot, and you didn't really have to read the notes if you didn't want to. But then when I start playing the drums, I had personal private lessons, so I start reading and I start writing music too, and that translated into rapping. When I started writing rhymes, I also wrote the music for that and produced it, and we recorded in the studio. And when I went to college, I wound up having a partner, a DJ partner, and we became a production team and creating music. But he was also a journalism major, and I had this story, I had this character I created with this story in this rap I had, and he liked it so much I gave him a black rose and a bullet every time he killed somebody. Ooh, back in
Okay.
the 80s, right? And he liked that so much he asked me to write another one about it, and that turned into a series of these 5 songs with the same character going through different scenarios. And uh, one thing turned into another, and he and I became a writing team, and we started writing scripts. We had some ideas because of our partners and because of what we went through. My drum section at college was incredibly interesting. I would say pretty much all HBCU drum sections probably have a story to tell. I've
Right.
been to, and they got stories to tell. And so we started to tell that story, and it branched off into several things. And then we just kept writing scripts for film and television, and that ultimately led to he and I creating intellectual properties of numerous sorts, just in being
Okay.
the team.
Okay. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to get to your latest project. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to put this up so people know, what actually you've been doing. When we went down to see the premiere, let them know a little bit about the movie that you went ahead, wrote, directed, and premiered.
Okay.
You
Well,
can-
I share a little bit of that visual. That's the poster right there for Dying to Learn. We had the amazing James Reynolds as our teacher, Mr. Cody. He is the 40-plus-year veteran of Days of Our Lives, and he's featured in our film. Dying to Learn is a passion project, and a movement, because back in 2019, I am an acting coach and I have some students, and I started to create these short films for them to get them some experience, not just teaching them directly how to act, but put them in the situation so they can understand how the process goes and also be better prepared when they actually get on set.
Right.
Um, and so I'm interested in what's the next short I'm going to write, because I was just writing shorts for them, whatever. And all through the course of 2019, every 2 or 3 weeks, we watched some horrible mass school shooting aftermath all over the splashed over the media, where these same three talking points were repeated every single time, every 3 weeks, almost like clockwork. There's some mass shooting. They got these same things. Oh, maybe it's bullying, or um, maybe it's mental health, or maybe it's the guns. The problem for me, one, is if you know anything about life, it's way more complicated than that. You know anything about human beings,
Correct.
it's more complicated than that. But those three talking points themselves are completely devoid of responsibility. Who's responsible for bullying? Not even the shooter. The shooter's not even responsible for their own actions, right? Who's responsible for guns? The shooter's not responsible for guns. You can't get the shooter to not have guns. It's already too late. So where's the responsibility? And the whole mental health thing is a scapegoat situation, right? That's even giving a black eye to many in the mental health community and need help, right? It's saying that
Hmm.
because you have mental health issues, you're going to shoot up a school. Like, these things are preposterous and not remotely trying to aim at solving a thing. And by the time we're bored with that, there's another school shooting. This happened over and over and over and over and over. So um, I wrote a film that would dig into what some of those causes are, because they are multitudinous, and it's part of the problem with our society right now. We're not telling the truth about a whole bunch of things, and um, the first one is calling it the problem it is, and we're not really doing that yet. But this is an epidemic, and the first thing we have to do, and first step in problem solving, is to say you have a problem. As America, we have a problem. Kids are being
Right.
radicalized. It's literally
R-
happening, and we say it out loud, right?
Right. And I like how your movie goes in and it really shows people that these are things that are happening.
Yeah.
From the very beginning of the movie all the way through, it shows step by step how these things are occurring. But it's making sure, and I know it left me with the ideas of, wow, these are things that led up to it. And here's where some of that may have been able to be stopped if we actually just acknowledge.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And these things are numerous, right? Part of the challenge is that our peer group doesn't really understand that the challenges that these kids face, their world is vastly different than anything we've experienced, right? The existence of humanity, society, has changed so drastically, constantly, by the minute almost, that when we say, well, I've been through whatever you've been through, we're not telling the truth. We haven't been through what they've been through. We couldn't talk to people in Japan in the face in an instant. That wasn't even a concept when we were kids. That
Right,
whole the miniaturizing of the world is a very vastly different world for them. And bullying is weird, that such a thing could happen online, where you could simply shut somebody off or whatnot. That the fact that that happens is a terrible thing, but it wasn't possible for us. We didn't have the internet to have access to like that. We couldn't talk to people around the planet, whether it was visually or just informationally, digitally, and all those other pressures that surround them. Some of the media that we had, right? Fred and Wilma Flintstone slept in separate beds. They
right,
were they were married, and they had twin beds because the aim to protect us from over sexualizing and all that was real, right? Ricky, Ricardo, and Lucy, they had separate beds. They were married, right? This whole thing of protecting the family unit was real. And these kids, 5 years old, they got access to porno and stuff. So the pressures for them are exorbitantly different than what we experienced. And if we
right,
don't account for that, then we can't prepare for what their challenges are and what these ultimate uh, dilemmas become.
right. Now, I want you to tell us a little bit about each of the, and we're going to show a trailer here in a minute, but I want you to give us some insight to each of these shots that I put up as to, what was going on and what that was supposed to be significant of.
Okay. I can't presently see you.
Don't worry about me. Do you see the
Ah,
picture of the Of the two guys?
No, I do not.
Okay, let me get that there. Let's just do this. I'm gonna put it up by itself. You see them?
Ah, it was me. Okay, okay, yeah, got it.
Okay. All right. So tell us about this scene.
Okay, so uh, the guy closest to the screen is Tamuk Muhammad. That's the character, Tamuk Muhammad. His name is Jordan T. Johnson, and the gentleman next to him is the character is Draco Vicious. His real name is Leroy Barrett, and they are two of the Three Amigos that are basically the bullying team, essentially. It's a weird way to describe it, and not entirely accurate, but it is sort of. The gentleman in the forward is the leader of the bullying team. That's Draco Vicious, Leroy Barrett, known as Draco Vicious. And in the back is the guy who's basically a counter to that, but he's in the Three Amigos. That's Armani Barrett, also known as Fabian McAvoy in the film.
Okay. All right. And I believe you spoke about this gentleman earlier.
Yes, sir. That is the incomparable Mr. James Reynolds, and he is Mr. Cody. He's a very healthy mix of mentor and life coach. Yeah, life coach and educator. He's a father to many on the set, and there's a sense you can get of that as they work out through the script.
Right. And get us here.
Okay, so the gentleman standing is an amazing actor. That is Jake Jake Golden, and he plays Billy Jansen. He's a kid who's very socially disconnected. He's got some challenges emotionally, and he's not very well liked, except for by these two. The young lady with the red hair, that is the amazing Miss London Barrett. She plays Angel Midwest, and the closer to us is one of my favorites is a Miss Amaya J. She plays Nefertiti Anu, and those two young ladies look out for him. Actually, in this particular scene, he's thanking them because they interrupted a bully session, basically.
Right, right. And then this next picture I'm going to put up, I remember it from the movie, but just the picture itself says 1,000 words.
Yeah. Yeah, this is during the active shooter scene, and they're trying to comfort each other because they have no idea of what's going to happen, right? They don't know if they'll last beyond the next 5 minutes, and they're distressed and distraught, and they're trying to figure out what to do while they have no earthly idea of what to do, but sit there and hope it changes.
Right, because for most people, they don't imagine that this is ever going to happen. I mean, with some of the things that have happened recently, no child, nobody, adults as well, but especially with children, they should not have to worry about or think on what they're supposed to do if a situation like this occurs.
That's right. I think the saddest thing about it is that because we have an self-taught survival mechanism where we don't engage things that aren't threats to us, we sadly keep seeing these situations and don't believe they're threats to us. That's where the biggest problem is we watch them from a distance, receive them from a distance, and we believe that they'll always stay distant. And
Right.
it is happening to somebody pretty consistently, and that somebody can be you and your family and your community, and that's real at all times. And so my favorite connective idea to this is what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, and he said that injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Every time we let one of these things occur, we are more in jeopardy of it happening again and closer to us.
Right, right. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put the trailer on, and everyone just take a look.
My crush is very real.
Good morning!
Good morning, gentlemen.
Bubble gum in a dish. I treasure my bubble gum for just 1 year. Hello.
Is everything okay, Billy?
Your laptop, Billy. Buddy. What you got? You what, Tom?
You don't have to brave anything alone. The offer is always open. Move! Move! Hey, stop it! Stop it! What the hell?
Okay. Leave that dude alone, man. You better get out my way, Fabian.
Or what, man? You gonna swing on me too?
You don't have to be cruel to kick it, Mr. Vicious. They all act like they like you. Nobody likes an asshole. Get your mind right.
Oh, Mr. Fabian. Oh.
Thanks, snitches.
Crazy.
Oh, it's him.
Man, I ain't ready to die.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's amazing how seeing this and knowing how these things can occur. You know, I think that you touched on every aspect, like you said, dealing with what's going on in society, what's going on from a standpoint of are the schools prepared? Are individual families prepared? That we need to make sure that we know what's going on with our children. Okay.
Absolutely.
The biggest thing that you also showed in there, and I'm not trying to give anything away or spoilers, is what Billy was going through. But I also looked at it that the young man that was bullying him, in
Yeah,
my mind, he had to be going through something as well.
absolutely. That's exactly right. And the so right now we're working on the feature, and the feature delves into each one of their lives because we try and show real life situation of what these children are going through, what their pressures are, what their lives are really like. But it's not just them; it's also the teacher, right? The teachers'
Right,
rooms that are way overcrowded, and it's difficult to help the kid who's quiet and needs it because you got 10 kids in your face making all the noise in your classroom of 35, right? And so this multitude of challenges piles into these for lack of a better word, perfect storms is what it is. And it's not just one thing, which is why I was upset about hearing those three talking points repeated over and over and over and over all year. I didn't write the film until November because I just got fed up hearing the same thing over and over. It is way more than that. And that's part of the issue is culminating all of these things into an understanding so we can actually attack it to bring about some remedies.
hmm You know, the biggest thing that I look at, and I can remember way back where you had a lot of parents talk about, you know, the teachers are supposed to be the ones that are taking care of my child. You know, they're
Right.
supposed to be making sure that their homework is done and everything else. But I always looked at it and been like, you know, telling my kids, when you come home, it's up to me to make sure that you're doing what you should be doing.
That's
And it's
true.
up to me to make sure you know what's going on.
That's true.
Uh,
I I subscribe to that perspective more harshly than I have now come to believe is accurate. Our children are our responsibility, period, hands down. Our joy. It's a gift to be a parent, like through the
right,
roof, right? Absolutely. But that's not the end of that process. Kids spend more time with teachers from the time they're in kindergarten to the time they graduate high school than they do their parents by leaps and bounds. And this is the most formative years of their lives. So we can't automatically throw away the importance of teachers engaging. Teachers have to also change the perspective that they are, whether they like it or not, they're parenting these children when they're in their company. So I think our better approach is to realize that this is a village, regardless if we see it that way or not. It
correct,
physically works that way, and we have to have a better focus on maximizing that so we can service our children the best way.
right. And you know, when you talk about that village, I can remember, and I'm sure you do too, that back in the day, the village was the whole block.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
I
right.
can remember doing something wrong, and the next door neighbor would tan my behind, and then my mom would be okay with him tanning my behind, you know, and I learned from that.
Yeah.
But today is so different. you can barely yell at somebody if they're not doing correct. And when we start talking about the village has just shrunk, you know?
Yeah, or deteriorated altogether. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
When we were kids, if I got in trouble all the way down the block at the other end, that parent would pop me upside the head and grab me and take me home. Now, kids will yell curse words from that end of the block all the way down the street. It's an
Right.
entirely different world, and it's because we've changed what respect means. Unfortunately, socially, we've
Correct.
changed what that embracing is, and there are some very detrimental consequences of that, of us not being a unit, a one, a family, that community, that village. We lose
Right.
a lot in that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And my this is just my opinion, is that a lot of that has to come from home. I'm so
Absolutely.
proud to say that my children, I instilled in them to give respect in order to get respect, to care for somebody the way that you want to be cared for, so that some of this is eliminated as far as they're concerned. You know, they're
Right.
not going to act out. They're not going to bully anybody.
Right.
My 18-year-old, he's gotten into some altercations which had nothing to do with him, but because he saw someone else being bullied, he
Right.
stepped in, you know.
Yeah.
And I've always been proud, but in this day and age, fearful.
Cautious. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you
For
know,
sure.
but the whole thing is, I've tried to prepare them as best as possible. I'm not saying that everyone should do this. I made sure that my kids were martial artists like myself so that they could take care of themselves. And if they needed to help somebody else, you know, to a certain degree, they could do that.
Right.
But these are just things that need to take place. And I love the movie because it talks about all of that. And I'm glad you said that the feature is going to go in a little bit more deeper into each of the characters, because I was able to pull stuff and
Right.
see just from the show and the movie rather, that there were some things that were missing, and I'd like to
Right.
see how some of that even occurred, because you know you teased me with, oh, this is how he's being a bully, but why? I don't know.
Right.
And then this is why he's not happy with everybody and he's made the decisions he's made, but I don't know why, you know.
Right.
But
And those wow, that's exactly right. I
yeah.
want to interject that thing about starting at home is larger. It's larger than just at home with the kids. This is part of the social economic challenge, right?
Right.
It's also with the parents. If the parents have a sense of community with the community, then that village can be built, right? If there's
Right.
no connectivity to the next door neighbor, then you might be hostile with the next door neighbor doing whatever it is to your child, despite the fact that you understand healthy discipline for a child and all of that, but you might not
Right.
like them doing it because you're not connected to them. And we don't have the time to do all of that because we're usually busy, absorbed in working or whatever it is that we've got to do to try and pay bills, whatever. We don't have time to socialize with the neighborhood like we did before. When we were younger and we were growing up, it was different. The neighborhood was connected. The parents knew each other. And
Right.
that's my neighborhood right now. Right now, I
Right.
know like my neighbors. And that's part of that social economic issue too. There are pressures on us that we aren't available. So our kids now aren't even outside though, right? That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, there's like I'm saying, that is literally my point, that it is a layered situation. And for them to only say these three talking points over and over and over for a year, the entire year, I got fed up with it and decided I would put the film together to uncover some of those truths.
And you know, sometimes that's what it takes, in order to even give us some inspiration on, excuse me, how we can affect change ourselves. And I
Right,
can tell from, you know, when you got up after the movie and you were talking to us and so forth, I could see the passion and, like you were saying, as well as the anger of nothing being done. People are
right,
saying this and so forth, but no one is really accepting what's going on, saying that there is a problem and trying to tackle the problem. And there's so many different ways to tackle it. And I think
right,
that what happens is everybody needs to use their talents, which you most certainly have done, to enforce people seeing what's going on, for them to learn. And that's what it takes, that's what it takes. So, one of the things I'd like you to do is I want you to leave us with two things. One, how you feel that films can assist individuals with realizing what's actually going on in the world. And I'm not talking about the media that's just putting stuff out there that's not true, or social media where people see stuff and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it was on Google, so I know it's true." We all know
Right.
what's happened with that. But I want you to tell
Right.
us how you feel through film people can see and learn what's going on. And then I want you to leave a word of encouragement and inspiration to other potential film writers, film creators out there on how they can go about doing this.
Okay. Well, first, I think film is instrumental because largely as human beings, we're visual learners, right? We see things, we receive them, and we come to believe we can have some understanding or other. But films in particular are a medium that you have to commit some time and focus to
Mhm.
in going to it before you engage it. Okay, I'm going to watch this 2 hour thing. I'm engaged. Now, what am I engaged in? That means that you're open to receive ideas. And part of the necessity in that is that we live in a very diverse country, right?
Yes.
We've got we talk a lot about the urban cities, but there's one or two of those per state. There's a whole lot of area that has no people whatsoever, right? I in a college trip I went through, we drove through a place called Greasy Corner, Arkansas. It had a sign up said population 42, no 47.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Some 147 people made the sign, but the point is, there were 47 people that lived in this town, and there are plenty of
Right.
places in America that are like that, that are incredibly limited in their exposure, but they can go see
Yes.
a film and see a difference of life than whatever their life is, whatever the culture is for what their community is, which is necessary, right? It's necessary for you to see and experience something else for you to understand it even exists, to have some perspective on it, and maybe have some compassion, right?
Right.
Which is, I think the key to changing this thing. And I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I will say that love is the forefront of this answer, right? And it's not the pie in the sky, I adore you, love. I'm talking about some abstract thing. No, it is the verb love. There are things we have to do to care about people to make sure that we are healthy. And
Correct.
the healthier we all are, right?
Right.
Um, but in the sense of encouragement, oh my goodness. This film itself should be an inspiration for everybody that's ever tried to make anything in the film world. We've had every challenge that could be a challenge. There were two roles in the film that were very important, that we filled 4 times in the last 6 days prior to filming. One of them, in
Okay.
fact, didn't get cemented until the second filming day. Right? Like, I got a cast and then I don't have a cast. And then I got a cast and I don't have a cast. Like, at the core of the thing, I can't tell a story if I don't have people to tell a story. So that is the microcosm of the string of things that came. And I like to say that the cliches for film exist for a reason. The one monkey don't stop no show and the show must go on. They exist because monkeys try to stop the show, because the show tries not to go on, and you have to do it anyway. And
Right.
so, literally, that was the entirety of my mentality. It's getting done. That wasn't a question. We'll figure out the thing to do. Every challenge that came is just a challenge, right? And every
Hmm.
loss is a lesson. But I am going to keep going. That's what's going to happen. There is no other exception.
Right.
I recently heard video, fortunately for me, where Kobe Bryant says there's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing as failure. When you're a winner, there's no such thing as failure, because if that's only a point that doesn't work out in that moment and you keep going to the point you succeed, then that failure can never be called that thing, because you continued until you succeeded. If you can get the crux of that message, then embody that. and decide you are, and just do. And the universe will respond, and you'll get people that come your way. You'll get assets that come your way. You'll have things that come into your path that's necessary for you to get where you're going because you refuse to not continue. And so
Right.
do that. Be
Thank you.
persistent. Be persistent.
Thank you. I know a lot of times when I go out, because I'm a motivational speaker, and I will tell people the only way to move forward is to take a step. And the big thing is you've got to keep on stepping so you keep moving forward. As long as you are moving forward and taking those steps, you will succeed. And that's exactly what you have just said. You know, all things that were coming to stop you, you were like, nope, just step right over it, step
Yeah.
around it. I'm going to keep going. And I'm so happy that you did. I appreciate you. And I want to let everyone know, you know, how they can reach you and so forth. And I'm going to put that up so that they can contact you if need be. Um, this is Mr. Leroy J. Barrett III. He is the founder of Roses Now. His office number is there, 858-707-7256. Email ljbarrett3@rosesnowvisions.com. And you can get to his website, rosesnowvisions.com. You know, if I'm not mistaken, you do and still always look for actors, people that are in the industry and so forth. So am I okay to say, hey, if you want to get in that field, reach out to Leroy?
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely. I'm
know,
always looking to be.
right. And the one thing that I love is the fact that when Leroy introduced the people that were in the movie, connected to the movie, and things of that nature, it was diverse. It was people from all walks of life that he has helping him, working with him. And just as I always tell you, you know, if you need to reach out to somebody, reach out to me. I'm here to help you as well. But Leroy is a person that wants to help individuals as well. So his
Absolutely.
information is there. I left it up so that you can see that. And, you know, once again, Leroy, I want to say thank you for being here with me today. I feel that this was a movie that was fantastic. I'm glad we were
Thank you.
there for the premiere and covered the red carpet and whatnot. And I
Yes.
look forward to you doing and getting this out to more people.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Doc, for having me. I more than appreciate you and all the work you do, brother. It is very important, and we need more yous in the world. I really do appreciate you, Doc.
Well, I'm only one, but I'm trying to do the best I can. Me and Lady Rock, we are going to make sure that people are aware of truth as well as things that are inspirational and motivational. So once
Yes.
again, I thank you, Leroy.
Thank you, Doc. Have a great.
You too. Everybody, you know that we always try to bring you some motivation and some inspiration and so forth. And we want people to start thinking about things that are going on in our world. You know, I hope that everybody is being safe, taking care of one another, and I look forward to speaking to you again on Straight Talk. Peace.